Now we're going to start with a panel. Panelists, you feel free to come on stage, and I'll introduce you accordingly. So first I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Albert Gomez. If you haven't heard, I'm in business. I'm a businessman. I have no role being here, but I am. And I've had an issue with trying to have a conversation about these technologies. And one of the ways I figured out of doing it was through a project called Tidal Art. And what I did was I worked with one of the panelist companies, eConcrete Tech, about 8 years ago when I caught on to their technology, which really impressed me, a bioactive concrete that recruits biology. And I asked them to basically give me some materials so that I can incorporate it with concrete and some composite rebar, and I made some sculptures. I literally had a Mexican artist make some molds and make some sculptures. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to have a conversation with the public, and that wasn't about where am I going to put a project. It was just to start a conversation about technologies that are available and how do we implement them so that they can start having that conversation internally. So I use art, I use innovation, and that's what I push for. So to that end, I thought I'd put a panel together here for you. One of my partners and collaborators is Sara. Sara, please wave your hand. Sara works with FIU for many years. She's a doctoral, not a candidate anymore. Now you are a doctor.
Yes,
it's been 2 years now. And I knew her before she was even going for a doctoral. So effectively, she's come up with some amazing technologies in biotile, including chemistries, including geometries, et cetera. She's had a lot of inferences that she's deployed, but she is all in on not only using additive technologies, using mold technologies and chemistries and geometries that promote accruement and deflect wave action, a lot of different things. Parker is a co-founder of Reef Arches, which is an amazing technology for coastal erosion protection, coastal habitat development, and coastal loss for that matter. So effectively, he's now deployed major projects. That was an amazing project that I saw that you recently deployed, 600 yards of coastal shorefront. So they're on the map officially. Mequela is with eConcrete Tech. That's she recently joined eConcrete Tech. She's ex-Army Corps. She's done a lot of things in science. She's also a professor at Everglades University, and she's here to tell us more about the technology. She's what I would the company eConcrete Tech is the original OG, is what I like to call it. And then Sandy Moise, partner in crime. We are social advocates. And, Sandy is here to shake trees, basically. Save trees and shake trees. So she's going to talk a little bit about the importance of civil action. And Barry Miller, someone that has gone beyond the pale for me on my little pocket park. And, I was obviously going to honor him because all of these technologies mean nothing if you don't have place. And you have to connect place with solutions. And what I want to tell, one of the outcomes I want from this panel is, are there any electeds here, or if there are any policy folks here, are there any people that want to advocate, or bureaucrats, or designers, or what have you, realize that if these interventions are not being deployed on your project, wherever on the coast, you're missing out. You're not delivering on what the public requires, because these solutions are needed everywhere now on the coastal shorefront. And if they're not integrated, you're going to legacy solutions, you're doing Me Too, you're hitting status quo. And I don't think anybody wants to do that these days. So with the panels here, I just wanted to basically, I don't mind, I do better standing, so I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna take my glasses off here because I can't see, I'm blind. Okay, so question number one, is to Sara. So Sara, BioCap represents homegrown innovation coming out of FIU. In 1 minute, what problem are your modular biomarine tiles solving, and where do you see the first practical Biscayne Bay deployments, seawalls, canal edges, or pocket park shorelines?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for introduction. Well, this biocap tiles that, as you can see, this is the we just recently installed them last Friday after trying to get our permits after 2 years, thanks to our friend Timothy at the city. Yes, these modular systems are supposed to be attached to the retrofitting existing seawall, so you don't like we have miles and miles of seawalls, existing seawalls. So you can attach these tiles. The idea is to have marine life recruitment over time. So these tiles are not only like doing recruitment, we also like monitoring. We have a tile that is actually have sensor box, so it's monitoring the water quality over time, real-time data. So we're gonna be having a website, so we will see like people, a community can see how the water doing. And the idea is to have recruitment, like oyster, barnacles, and filter feeders, basically, that cleans water. So one oyster alone, adult oyster, can actually filter 50 gallons of water, literally, if I'm not, yeah. So imagine like you have a house for that, and you can using nature to have actually clean your water system, basically. Our Biscayne Bay, the issue we have is,
Amazing tech. This gives us sort of a local innovation lens. Mequela, let's connect that to scalable project-proven systems. eConcrete Tech has global precedence and peer-reviewed support. From your experience, including your work around federal regulatory systems and the Army Corps of Engineers, what makes a nature-based infrastructure solution more likely to move from concept to permittable deployment?
Yep, so to move it forward, you definitely want to frame it as infrastructure first, plus ecological benefits. When we're working in these type of frameworks, you want to ensure that, one, that they fit within the existing framework. That's what regulators are looking for. They're looking for performance data and ecological data, as well as they're looking for peer-reviewed and type of successful pilot projects you have done. So what I like to say, most agencies are already looking at risk all the time. So when you come to them, just lessen the risk from them by having those 4 type of categories already set for them.
Okay, that's very useful. So we have science, precedent, and permitting. Parker, your work brings us to wave energy and living shoreline function. Reef arches are designed to reduce wave energy, combat erosion, and create habitat. In a place like Biscayne Bay, where would these structures be most useful, and what should people understand about their role in helping oysters, mangroves, and living shorelines establish?
Yeah, so mangroves house oysters. They're the OG, tile, everything. They've been growing oysters a long time. The issue is we're having a lot of wave energy, and we actually have to protect the mangroves first so that they can continue to protect the shoreline. When the erosion happens, the mangroves fall in, and it just keeps eroding further and further back. Eventually, the mangroves will grow. Same thing, they'll die. So you're just continuing that loss of land. If you can protect in front of the mangroves, you'll actually keep the mangroves there. They'll stay, and you'll grow your shorelines back. But with Biscayne Bay, it goes back to what all of you guys are saying. It's oysters are filter feeders. They clean the water. Mangroves house habitat. They're bird sanctuaries. They keep life there. And if I'm not mistaken, they also clean water too, I think, to some degree. Yeah. Yeah. So as long as we can protect what's there, that's what matters.
Okay, this speaks to physical shoreline performance. Barry, you have worked specifically with Bayshore Park on defining water quality performance. How are your projects addressing actual performance metrics that cities are so actively looking for solutions to solve?
That's a good question. Right now, we're completing the water quality tests on Bayshore Park. This was the contaminated site, arsenic, like most sites in Miami. barrier islands with a slightly higher level and accepted level by DERM, which I hadn't known about earlier. So what we're looking at and what we're monitoring is the groundwater and also the water and the soils within the site. What we're seeing generally is a drop in the arsenic just over the past year and a half that the lake's been dug and built. But now DERM is actively monitoring it, and that's an important question. It's interesting on Miami Beach, it's a different kind of animal because at first, as soon as the soils are not really an issue for contamination. You cap them, you do things, there's all kinds of things you can do. Groundwater is another animal. It really gets complex with the plumes, and when you're digging lakes, we had to bring in all kinds of outside consultants about where's that plume going to go with the hydrostatic pressure. So we had to put in ground monitoring wells around the entire neighborhood to find out what's actually going to happen with that arsenic. Hopefully it's going to go down. The catch that we convinced Durham with is that we told them, listen, we don't have irrigation. We don't have wells in Miami Beach. So we're not drawing from the plume. It's not a public health hazard. So outside the city, it could be. It could be something that needs to be more closely monitored.
I think we could point to the Turkey Point salinity plume as a validation on that. So we've heard what can be built. Sandy, your work reminds us of implementation, that implementation also depends on public will and stewardship. Your advocacy around rookery designation, slow speed zones, and leave no trace policies shows us how community action can lead to formal protection. What does grassroots advocacy teach us about getting nature-based infrastructure accepted, protected, and sustained?
I'm not sure what it teaches us, but what I'd like to say is without it, we don't get all of the implementation of the ideas of everybody up here. We are, as human beings, we are so connected to nature, and I think that we all kind of re-experienced it during the pandemic when Miami was much quieter. There was not a lot of activity out on the bay, and wildlife returned to us. And I believe that for many of us, it taught us how important nature is for our souls, for our mental health, for our mental clarity, for our peace of mind, just peace in our lives. And we discovered through having this quietness, at the same time a rookery reestablished itself, or the birds reestablished themselves. The rookery on Bird Key collapsed. It was in existence for over 300 years. They don't know all of the reasons that it collapsed. Wave activity may have had something to do with it, but through a variety of reasons, there was a lot of disturbance and it collapsed. It relocated, many of the birds relocated on Mangrove Island. Through a neighborhood situation where some neighbors wanted to do a fireworks display over this nesting colony. We did a little bit more research. We found out just how valuable it was, and that's really what led to us starting to fight for it. With advocacy, anybody can be an advocate. I grew up as a super shy person. I never spoke out. It was Albert who convinced me to speak at a commission meeting. But with advocacy, one of the things that is so important is education. You need to educate people. Like, for example, in my neighborhood, I had to educate the neighbors, hey, we have this like extremely unique ecosystem right here in our backyard, and this is what will harm it, and this is why we need to protect it. So with everything, whether it's the leave no trace, whether it's getting protections for the rookery, and I see Griffin because Griffin and I have had a lot of conversations, and I've badgered Griffin a lot, but we work together. You know, it's a respect because I know he has some limitations in what he does, but I also have to continue to fight for protections for the birds. So I think what we can learn is we have to learn how to develop relationships where we're fighting for what is needed because it's necessary for nature and to have a better community.
Amen to that. Okay, so we're going to do a quick lightning round here. I'm going to ask you a question, then a multiple choice, and then a follow-up question, okay? So, Sarah, we'll start with you. If Biscayne Bay were to deploy biocap tiles in the next pilot cycle, where's the best first use case? Seawalls, canal edges, pocket, shorelines, all of the above, but phased.
I would pick the last one, starting with phases. I would start with seawall to kind of understand our environment, kind of a pilot study to understand better, because all of these design are very new, so we have to understand how they really work in nature, and nature is complicated. So they're all look good in papers and theory, but we have to test them. So I would start with that and go to different phases.
You answered my question, which was what makes the site type ready for deployment, but I guess it's testing, right? Because we're at that
Exactly.
pilot phase. That's a great point. Okay, so let's now that we have a local deployment target, let's look at what makes technology scalable. Mequela, what is the biggest factor that helps nature-based coastal infrastructure get accepted by agencies, engineers, and project owners? Is it A, peer-reviewed science, B, existing project precedent, C, regulatory familiarity, or D, maintenance and performance data?
Well, they are all equally important, but I'm going to go with existing projects. And existing projects, because the proof is really in the pudding. One, you need to really show how the projects actually work in extreme weather events and actually real time data. Second, you need a return on investment information. If you're saying your product is, going to have less maintenance costs, this is the time to test it in that particular environment. And three, that ecological uplift as well, that when you're promoting that, you get to really chance to see that. Also as well, we saw this in Port of San Diego for us. We went from a pilot to a full scale because we were able to show 60 species actually utilize an area. They bred in the area, in the entire area. And then additionally saw better water quality. What then returned, the Porter Redwood was like, hey, we want that too. So having these existing projects just opened doors for more people to use the technology.
She also answered my question, which is working towards permitting, which is proving allows you to work towards permitting more quickly. This is wonderful. Okay, once a solution is accepted, it also has to perform physically on the shoreline environment. Parker, what is the primary value of reef arches in Biscayne Bay? Reducing wave energy, combating erosion, creating marine habitat, supporting oysters and mangroves, all of the above as living shoreline systems.
D.
What?
I'll let you ask your question this time.
Yeah. Where would you start? Exposed edges, degraded shorelines, or restoration zones?
I'm going to go with degraded shorelines because a degraded shoreline is an erosion zone. And so fix the degraded shoreline first. It won't be a erosion zone. And then move on to the edges.
Okay, so Barry, this brings us to how we retrofit existing hardened infrastructure. Is it about speed? Is it about customizing to site conditions? Is it about habitat complexity? Is it about the ability to retrofit into an existing infrastructure? Or is it local workforce and talent development?
I'll answer yes.
So it's an all of the above
It's
again.
an all of the above. I mean, but of course you have to know the site, and everything's going to be different, and it's never a speedy thing. You have to have patience, and you have to be in it for the long haul. And all the other factors that you mentioned after that are all very, very important, but it's commitment is what you need most.
Right on. Okay, Sandy, what is the most important ingredient for turning community concern into lasting protection? Clear rules, public education, enforcement, stewardship culture, or formal government adoption?
All of the above.
Well, what should nature-based infrastructure advocates learn from your spoil advocacy?
Well, Leave No Trace, I think, is a great example. A lot of people said that it wouldn't work. So we had to do public education with it. We had to convince the commissioner to put it forward. We helped write the item. And we had to continually follow up. it was a lot of annoying emails, and I'm going to admit, I send a lot of emails, but without it, we don't get to where we need to be. And when they took the trash cans off, I get a call from the county, like, where did our trash cans go? They took our trash cans. So, it's me as a private citizen trying to figure out, now, how do I get them their trash cans back? And like Griffin said, when it rolled out initially, it didn't work. It was really trashy. One of the most important, the strongest element with this was having, like, Louis Aguirre with his Don't Trash Our Treasure segments, because whenever we get a reporter to highlight something, then you use their segments to showcase and further it. And then when we had the disaster where it didn't work and trash was just everywhere, I was just constantly texting Art Noriega and calling Art Noriega, and you got to shut it down. You got to shut it down. You've got to set an example. You've got to enforce. So if you do the education component and then you don't do the enforcement when it's not working, you're not going to end up with the success. We have to have some form of enforcement, but it was education first and then enforcement along with it.
Thank you so much. And then we're going to wrap here with some one final question. I'm going to give you a bullet points, and then you give me the why afterwards as well. You pick your bullet point and you give me the why. To chart a real path to Biscayne Bay recovery, which is the one action we should take in the next 12 months? A, identify pilot sites. B, create a permitting pathway. C, fund demonstration projects. D, build public-private partnerships. E, establish maintenance and monitoring standards. Or F, mobilize community stewardship. Sarah?
I would go with permitting because it takes a long time. So you better, even though you don't have your project ready, I would start it at least talking with the city, and because, if you are close to the water, you have to talk to DERMS. There's so many levels of bureaucracy. So you have to go, at least start with that and then go to the next steps.
Okay, Parker?
I would go with funding pilot projects. That's how you test new technology, and that's how you prove if it works.
Very good. Mequela?
I'm going to also go with permitting, but I'm going to throw it back on the agencies. And I'm going to throw it back on the agencies to tell us where these technologies fit within these existing frameworks, right? Provide guidance documentation. So that's how we get to the 12-month plan, right? We need that guidance, because right now all these technologies are getting permitted differently. They're getting looked at differently, and we need guidance at the moment. And then we need to work on a long-term plan for that as well, to actually develop nature-based solution technology permits for each of them, so we can stand on a separate category so people will adopt these technologies quicker.
Barry?
Well, I'll fill in with public-private partnerships. I think it's crucial if you really want to get things done and bring in the development sector and private capital, which is, there's tons coming into South Florida right now, how to channel that and harness that, for the greater good. I think is a good way to start. Governments are just too tapped out very often, and are scrambling just to do street sweeping. That's enough. But to get real money for real change and to really implement new policy, I think the private sector should maybe be invited.
Great point. Sandy, you want to close that out? You want the 4 questions again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's next 12 months, identify pilot sites, create permitting pathways, fund demonstration projects, build public-private partnerships, establish maintenance and monitoring standards, or mobilize community stewardship.
Well, for advocacy, did you say have demonstrations? Because, I would have demonstrations. But no, you have to mobilize your community. And what I want to recommend that everybody do is we all have an iPhone or a Samsung or whatever kind of phone, but it's not only a phone, that's your camera. And always have that ready, and be ready to take pictures and to take video and document when you see things that are not good. I love pictures and I love nature, but I have to tell you, some of the most, like with the rookery and getting attention for the rookery, the photos that actually got attention were the photos of the pelicans that were hanging tied up in monofilament line and hanging from the mangroves. And there were one magnificent frigatebird and 4 pelicans, 5 in 1 month. And that's really what like brought the action. That's what was the call to action. So have your cameras ready, and then the next thing is always question with intention. Don't always believe everything that is said to you. Go back and research it and question it.
Okay.
And I want to give a shout out to just one person who's between you, who's taught me a lot, and Elvis Cruz in the back, who's really been a model of advocacy.
Thank you,
Elvis.
Sandy. See something, say something. Okay, closing statement here. Thank you so much, folks. As we close, the measure of success for this panel is not just what we discussed, but what we can move forward. We can leave today with 2 or 3 clear pilot pathways that can be advanced within the next 12 months. To the audience, help us identify the right pilot site, align them with municipal partners, and connect them directly to the goals of the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Summit and the broader path for bay recovery. Thank you so, so much.